What is up, my friends? Welcome to Flippin' Bats. It is John Smoltz Day, where the Hall of Famer joins us every single week here on Flippin' Bats. Flippin' Bats is presented by FanDuel. Bet baseball with me all season long on America's #1 sports book. It means the world that John Smoltz joins us every single week here. Grew up a Braves fan, have him on my show every week. It's awesome. I love it. Today, there's a lot to talk to him about. Obviously, over the weekend, a big situation we talked about. Jared Kelenic not running out of the box, gets thrown out at second base on a ball off the wall. Brian Snitker, the manager, goes to the media and says, I didn't see it. I don't believe that for 1 second. Then you have your superstar, Ronald Acuna Jr., going to social media saying, I would have been taken out of the game. That's true. Should he have gone to social media? Probably not. Just a lot to talk about there. So I'm going to ask John if he thinks this is just a lot to do about nothing or if this is a bigger situation than even I might think. So we'll talk about that. I'm going to ask him about Bobby Cox. If there was a situation where Bobby Cox said something to the media where everyone was like, What is he doing? Also, Spencer Strider now back on the IL, dealt with an arm injury, now on the IL with a hamstring injury. Who better to talk to about that than John Smoltz, a guy, obviously a great pitcher on the mound, Hall of Famer, also dealt with some injuries throughout his career. So I'm interested in asking him about, was it difficult coming back from an injury, not overcompensating there and then injuring another area? Is that what's happening to Spencer Strider? Going to talk about that. And then a team that is playing well, that is just kind of going under the radar, playing really well. We talk a lot about the Dodgers and the Padres. We all know they're the two of the best teams in baseball. The Giants are good, but who's quietly been a really good team this year? Going to ask John Smoltz about that as well. So pumped about this one. Means the world that John is joining us here. So let's get to it. Without further ado, here's the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz. All right, I am pumped to be joined now, as I am every single week, by the Hall of Famer from the Atlanta Braves, John Smoltz. John, how are we doing this week, my friend?
Doing great. Doing absolutely great.
I love that. Golf game's in good shape.
It is. Yep.
We love that. I want to start with a big topic over the weekend, this prior weekend, because it's about the Atlanta Braves, and it's the situation where Jared Kelenic hits a ball off the wall, didn't run out of the box, gets thrown out at second base, and basically doesn't get taken out of the game. Snicker says he doesn't see it. Ronald Acuna chimes in on social media and says, I would have been taken out of the game, which is true. He was taken out of the game in 2019 when the same thing happened, but it just became a lot. What is this something, John? Is this nothing? The team is struggling or was struggling. They're doing a little better now, but is this just amplified with a team not playing well, or do you think this is something when your star is chiming in on social media?
Well, being objective and not a former Atlanta Brave, you got to understand the context. And we all, as players, lose context when we feel personally disrespected.
Yeah.
The young man that Ronald Acuna was, the superstar that he is, did a lot of mistakes and made a lot of mistakes as a young player, had to learn some tough lessons. He's gone through some tough physical challenges, and the context is not the same. So
Yeah.
he wants it to be the same, but it's not. And this became a bigger story back then because of the way that Acuna plays, the emotion in which he plays, the flair, and all the things that has become accepted in the game. He's very talented. But there were things that were going on in the clubhouse that nobody knows about. And there were things that were being addressed that nobody knows about that didn't exactly go the way they should. And so a manager has to do things at times to make a difference in a player's life when he thinks it's time for it. This is not apples and apples. This is not the same scenario. Now, if Kelnick had done this about 4 or 5 different times, I guarantee you this scenario would have
Yeah.
been the same. So I know a lot is made and we do things differently today. Social media is probably good for some things and bad for most. And that is where it's bad for most. There's no place to make that claim. You are an emotional claim that probably had to get deleted, which it did.
Yeah.
And you deal with that differently. You learn how to deal. We all made mistakes. We talked about this before about mistakes that players make, even in the Juan Soto comment that seemed
Yep.
innocent at the time. It happens. Take it for what it is. But to say something like that and to create more drama that was dealt with a long time ago obviously still bothers Ronald
Yeah.
Acuna.
If you're not answering objectively and you are answering as a former Atlanta Brave, does your answer change at all?
No,
Yeah. Yep.
no, because the reason I make that is people are going to say, well, he's an Atlanta Brave, so he's going to stick up for Brian Snitker, or he's going to. I've been so far. I'm almost more removed from being a former Brave that I can be objective, even though everyone
Yeah.
knows I'm an Atlanta Brave.
John, it's funny. You deal with it every day, but it's funny. I'll post this episode. I'll put something out there. John and I talk about the Yankees. John and I talk about the Dodgers, and it never fails. And I know you know it. Well, John hates the Yankees. John loves the Dodgers. John hates the Dodgers. John loves the Yankee. Every single. It doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Yeah, it never will. It'll be the same for the rest of time.
So I want to ask when it comes to situations like this, and you mentioned social media, good for some things, probably bad for most. You have your superstar, best player in the organization going off on social media. Obviously, not the best place to go about things. Things were different when you played. There wasn't social media. And I know we had Brian Snitker come out. It wasn't on social media, but Snitker made those comments in the media that when he said, I don't think this helped anything. When he said, I didn't see it. Look, we know he saw it, whether it be in the moment or after the moment or the following, or that night. We know he saw it. And it just kind of left me thinking, huh? So I was wondering from your perspective, was there ever a time when Bobby Cox said something to the media and everybody in the locker room's like, what is he talking about?
I think with Bobby, where that would fill in is he would take the blame for
Oh,
players,
interesting.
and
Yep.
we'd always go like, why would he do that? Like, why is he taking the blame for the player? As a manager, Bobby always stood up in front of trying to get the focus off the player, whether it was negative, mostly negative. And, in scenarios where there are a million replays and a million eyeballs, and it's probably a lot harder to recognize all the things that go on in a clubhouse. Sometimes you're not super focused on every single thing. And when something catches you by surprise, you're like, oh, I wasn't even following that to the
Yeah,
degree that people are following it.
100%.
So I think, again, I've learned lessons of let 24 hours go by before your frustrations get spoken about, because they're usually not going to be aligned perfectly. And, from the standpoint of this has many layers to it. And people don't understand the layers that go into young players getting mega contracts, getting able to do and feel and say whatever they want. This is a much more mature player in Ronald Acuna. He's nowhere near the player he was 3 years ago,
Yeah.
emotionally and physically. You just hope he gets back to the player that he was 2 years ago, where he's one of the most dynamic players in the game.
Yeah.
But again, we've all made comments of things that we feel righteous about at the time, that if we could look back at our former self and go, I don't know if that was the right place to say that.
Yeah. I love yours last week with the Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor situation in Chicago. That was great. John, I want to talk about sticking with the Atlanta Braves. There's a lot coming out of Atlanta this year. Now you get your stud back on the mound, Spencer Strider, from injury, dealing with arm injury. Then he finally comes back after a year, has one start, immediately goes down with a strained hamstring. And I thought it could be interesting to talk to you about this because you're a guy that you did have some injuries throughout your career. And, it's interesting with Strider comes back from an arm injury, then all of a sudden dealing with a hamstring. But I would love to ask you about this. How is it difficult to not focus on one area and then it suffers in another area and one injury leads to another. Do you worry about that with Strider? When you come back from an injury, let's say it's an arm injury, does focusing on one thing make you, you know, compensate in another area and mess up? For example, I'm not saying that is what's happening, but you're dealing with one injury, next thing you know, another's popping up and then another's popping up. Is that a concern here?
Yeah, my biggest concern in the game, we're seeing injuries that usually don't happen to certain
Mhm.
positions. And then we're seeing a ton of injuries that are happening to position players that don't make a lot of sense. So I go back and I say the training mechanism and the way that you go about training is not necessarily specific to your position. And I'm not saying it's impossible to pull a hamstring, but it makes you wonder, how do you pull a hamstring? What have you been doing to train, to your point, when you're getting ready to get back for your arm? I've noticed from people in the past, you have a whole year and change to take care of your whole body.
Hmm.
The focus can't just be about your elbow, because that's the concern that you want to get repaired, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen guys get too big physically, upper body, because they obsessively work on the time that they have nothing else. And then I've seen guys take a chance to work on the whole body, the things that you neglect during the regular season. All of my injuries, for the most part, started with a pulled groin and a hip issue that translated into a shoulder issue, which translated into an elbow issue. It's a chain reaction. And today, that can't be good news
Yeah.
for the Atlanta Braves when you feel like his arm's healthy, and then all of a sudden, I don't even know how you can pull your hamstring playing catch, but that seems to be the injury that, you know, everybody's so hyper focused on every attribute of their body. They look phenomenal. They're lean. We've talked about it before. His hip action and his routine with his lower body is extravagant to the point where it's like mad scientist type thing,
Yeah.
right? And good, give it credit to him and his ability to get to this point, and he's reinvented himself since college. But at some point, you know, you have to you have to listen to the body a little bit. And that's what I learned in the course of my career. When there were days I didn't want to train because my body was telling me don't push it, I didn't. And then there were times I had to push through certain things. So it's a balance, and
Yeah.
it's complicated.
Yeah, and I know it's interesting with Justin in the offseason, and obviously he's 42 years old. He's learned a lot throughout his career, but I know you've talked to him about this. You've talked to him about the PT that he goes through as well. Like we'll talk in the offseason, and he's working on his quad or working on his neck. Like it's not just I need to get my arm ready for the regular season. It's it's everything. It's a whole process, and it's just been interesting watching him go about his business to get his entire body ready for the regular season, and it's not easy, and you got to focus on everything.
Yeah, I learned so much my last 7 years. I wish I would have known that in the first
Yeah,
13 years. You
yeah,
get away with a lot because you're talented and you can overcome your body because you physically can until you can't. And then you have to learn, how to, from the ground up, do I become more stable?
yeah. Wow, interesting. Last one for you today. We talk a lot in baseball about the best team right now. The San Diego Padres are playing the best. We obviously talk about the Dodgers. We've even, people are even talking about the Giants this year because Giants are good. My question for you is who's a team that's been playing well quietly this year? Who do you look at and say this is a pretty good team? We're not really talking about them that much.
I think the Cubs jumped to my mind. They had a rough start. They had to face the Dodgers 100 times in the first 10 games. It seemed
Yeah,
like,
what
which
is
is
up with that
overkill.
schedule?
And I think they've done well. They've won enough games to get in first place. They've got a much improved ball club. Tucker has been incredible. I think the Cubs are the talk of the Central. I don't think any team in the Central is going to run away, but I think the Chicago Cubs quietly. I don't know that a lot of people saw the moves they were going to make in the offseason. And I think they're a very dangerous team, especially playing where they play. And the weather has seemed to be okay in the beginning of the
Yeah,
season, which is always an issue for Chicago and their hitters. So I think they're a good look. They're a good team that you could build around to think, hey, they got a chance to do something in the National League, which is loaded, top heavy. Top five teams are extremely, good. And somebody is going to be worthy of a playoff that doesn't get a chance to get in because of the balance of the National League.
Yeah, I think as we speak, like 15 and 10 around there, and it feels like of those 25 games, 20 have been against the Dodgers and the Padres. Their schedule has been crazy, and they're still sitting here in first place. Speaking of the Cubs, Justin Steele goes down. He's out for the year. Obviously, some major concerns with their rotation depth for the Cubs. That's not going to change between now and the trade deadline. You know you're going to need pitching help to get to the playoffs and do what you want to do. Do you go address that now? Is it too early? Do you push the panic button, or do you say, look, we're going to be okay. We're going to wait until the trade deadline to address this situation?
Yeah, it's an interesting problem because I don't know into my memory if any big trades ever been pulled off this early.
Yeah.
Because all teams have optimism, but about 10% of the team have zero optimism. So you're trying to cherry pick the best leverage you can on those teams who are already looking to go and rebuild. And I think, look, I'm just at the top of my head. I don't know if Colorado would do this, but maybe a Kyle Freeland or
Yeah.
somebody like that you could take would be very, very good in Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
And honestly, not playing for a very good team right now. So I don't know if Colorado would do something like that, but that's the way you got to think on the teams that have already got off to a bad start that want to kind of change their fortunes, if you will, and knowing you're not going to keep that guy in the future.
Yeah, very unbiased of you, John. Let's call a spade a spade. The Colorado Rockies stink. I think that's a great idea out of you. Thanks as always, John. This has been a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. Let's do it again next week.
You got to look forward to it.
All right, just wanted to thank John again for joining us here on the show. Means a ton. Really cool to pick his brain about things, and really, again, I know I say this a lot, but it really does mean so much to have him on. So thanks again to John Smoltz for joining us. Love talking about everything going on around the game of baseball. And right now, the Braves are a big topic, and he knows a lot about the Atlanta Braves. So really cool to talk to him about that. Flippin' Bats is presented by FanDuel, and today I'm going to do a same game parlay for you because it's on Thursday on FanDuel Sportsbook, you have a 30% profit boost on a same game parlay. So if you're listening on Wednesday, get ready for this on Thursday. If you're listening on Thursday, bet this right now because we're going to put together a same game parlay that you're going to get a 30% profit boost on if it hits. But you can put together a same game parlay for any game, and if it wins, you get a 30% profit boost. But let's talk Brewers at Giants for today's pick. I'm going to go Giants money line in this game. Big reason for that is because Roop is on the mound, and he's been pitching really well lately for the Giants. So I think you're getting a good number here. He's not a big name. Not a lot of people know him, but he's been throwing well, and I think that's a good opportunity to get a good number on him. So I'm also going to take the under in this game. So Giants money line and under the total runs is how we're starting this. Next up, I'm going to go Matt Chapman, 2+ total bases. Matt Chapman, not a ton of at-bats against Tobias Myers, who they are going up against, but he is 1 for 2 with a homer. And I promise you, this matters. I don't care if I faced a guy 100 times or 2 times. If I have a homer off of him, I'm feeling really comfortable in the box against him. So day game, ball's going to fly a little bit more there at Oracle. And I like a ball to shoot in the gap or maybe down the line. He's going to get a double out of this, and we're going to have our 2+ total bases. So we're going to go Matt Chapman, 2+ total bases. We're also going to go William Contreras of the Milwaukee Brewers to get a hit. He is 3 for 4 off of Roop in his career, also feeling pretty comfortable in the box. They are all singles. I don't need a double. All I need is a single. Give me another single, and we cash this bet. So we're going Giants money line, the under Matt Chapman, 2+ total bases, and William Contreras to get a hit. All those things happen. We win, and that is a 30% profit boost bonus on our SGP on FanDuel Sportsbook on Thursday. So let's hope that wins. And that is, again, Thursday, tomorrow. Any SGP, you get a 30% profit boost. Remember, it must be 21 or older and present in select states or 18 and older and present in D.C. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Please make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever. Click that subscribe, follow button. It does really help and mean a ton. Every episode we do also comes out on our YouTube channel at Flippin' Bats Pod there. You can watch everything. We're also on all social media. If you want to watch some clips or know when the next episode is, we're on all social media at Flippin' Bats Pod everywhere. But John Smoltz comes on today. It's our weekly John Smoltz episode. Absolutely love that we're able to do that. Absolutely love talking baseball with you guys all the time. Flippin' Bats will be back soon. The baseball season is rolling on, and things are firing on all cylinders. 2025, the year of Flippin' Bats. Thank you all. You guys mean the world. It really means a ton when you listen, and we just get to talk baseball together. So let's do it all again soon. Until next time, my friends, remember, find your bat and flip it. Peace. Flippin' Bats is presented by FanDuel. You must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. That's 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPENY in New York.